And welcome back to The Way of the Wandering Wizard. I am, as always, Robert Andrew Meredith Kennedy, although most folks know me as Bob the Wizard. And I am a pure and open channel for the finest vibration of divine love and light, made manifest here in service to Gaia and those who travel with her. In my last little video, I may have been using the mystic's excuse of know thyself as a justification for playing hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours on the computer, which just goes to show I'm a wise old wizard. I made mention that this chapter would be called Forest Life and Fatherhood, and so having secured my position as training area warden, I received my joining instructions. I wouldn't even get a chance to start at work before I was expected to go on a course, as we were patrolling members of staff and part of the security of the site. I needed an SIA certification, Security in Action. On my first day, keen to impress, I arrived fresh-faced and freshly brushed on the camp, only to be informed that if I'd read my email properly, I would find out there was supposed to be a lid camp in order to pick up a car to go on the training course. So, waving goodbye to my newfound colleagues, of which I've met for all of 30 odd seconds, I promptly turned round and drove back past my house to go to Lyd, my old stomping ground from the MOD days. Driving west on the familiar drive across to the Welsh Ranges, I arrived at Castle Martin Ranges, booked into a hotel that I've stayed in I don't know how many times in the past. Walked through the door. There were a few members of staff from the training area, or from Landmark. I walked up and introduced myself. I was just being introduced as to who I was and what I did, and said I don't really know because I haven't even been on the training area yet. I don't even know what it looks like. This is my first day at work. And with that, the landlord, he walked out and went, "Hello, Bob. Would you like your usual room? And I guess you want steak for dinner." So it was good to be back in familiar ground. It certainly helped give me a boost of confidence starting a new job in an area which I knew well. It's a beautiful part of the world. The course went very well. It was the usual heady mix of control of substances, hazardous to health, fire extinguishers, citizens' arrest procedures, our rights, the law, and all of the other modules that one had to complete, as is part of training courses many of you have to achieve. Role-playing was a part of this course. I have to say that back during my MOD days, I really did not appreciate being invited to role-play, as we'd moved into the corporate world away from our old MOD days. The new courses frankly irritated me, and I was very much, I am a sensible scientist and I refuse point blank to play dress up. Well, I think the course facilitator must have realised that my hesitancy and just looked me in the eye and went, "Well, it's something that you're going to have to do, so you might as well enjoy it." All right then, you asked for it. And so he sent us up the room with our little script, and I had to roleplay a warden requesting that somebody left the land. And the person who was asked to leave the land would of course be quite irate and refuse to do so. I think my "Oi, get off my land" routine, while it may have entertained me and made a few of the class giggle, was not quite what he had in mind. But it broke something in me, and as roleplay will become something of a feature later on in this tale. I'd been through enough of these type of courses, the bulk of it, so I passed well. And waving farewell to Wales again, I headed back to start my job for proper. It is a wonderful little team. It's a few members of staff, boys and girls, that are responsible for the maintenance of the camp, keeping the huts and the accommodation blocks clean, keeping the toilets clean. Part of my duties was part of that. While I was on site, I was expected to run or to look after the maintenance of the like the obstacle courses, the little training area out the back where not a lot went on, and, of course, the 30-metre range. Keeping the 30-metre range is fairly easy. The guys pick up all of their brass. Basically, the trick is to make sure that you put the targets out from, make sure that everything's turning nicely, and then let them get on with it. I had a chance over the years to have a few shoots. It was nice to get back on a range. The highlight of running the range was, of course, range inspection day. And so once a year, the range would shut. I would rake the sand like some kind of Zen master to perfect angles. Paint all the boards across the front, all the little firing lines, all the little numbers at 5, 10, 15, 20 metres. I'd even go as far as to putting stripes on the grass of the range. They looked immaculate, of course. And generally we passed with flying colours. Well, we did every time. So apart from getting irritated with a few cadets, indeed a few officers, who shot holes in the back of the backstop wall, who will remain nameless. That's all I can remember about the range. The one joy of working on the training area is that you have to clean toilets. Now this is something which is clearly not a joy, but is something that I think every single human being should have to do at least a month of. Yeah, I'm not joking. Whether it teaches you humility, it certainly teaches you what other people's kids can get up to in toilets. Horror tales. But needless to say, apart from some tales of horrendously blocked toilets, I think it's something that was part of the job, clearly. And that was my camp days. The bulk of my day, the bulk of my job was out on the training area, almost 1,000 acres of site of special scientific interest in the middle of the greater Ashdown Forest area. An absolutely stunning piece of the UK, the hidden gem of the southeast. Wild, open countryside, Winnie the Pooh country. Clearly I have a love of the forest, and by forest I do of course mean an ancient hunting preserve, not necessarily trees. Ashdown preserves huge amounts of lowland heathland, a very rare habitat, and part of the training area included that habitat. So very early on I got involved in the conservation work on the site, keeping new growth cut back. It's just good practical work. Well, I did say this first little chapter it would be forest life and fatherhood. So, a little more than a month or so into my newfound job, having settled nicely with the team, one night, or one evening, from the heavily pregnant good lady, I got the elbow. I think it started. Definitely looked like it started. We'd done our courses, we had our little bag, we had our whale song. It wasn't whale song, it was ambient trance, but it was, you get the gist. We had our birthing plan for a water birth, with chilling music in the presence of Reiki masters. We beated off to the same hospital where I was born, and where, in the long course of our tale, I'm currently recovering in hospital. Well, needless to say, we arrived there, tapped on the door, and the nurse basically told us that we were new parents and that we were panicking. It's far too early. She was nowhere near it, and could we go home and wait because they were very busy. Well, a refusal like that is likely to slow things down. And so we went back home. I was still convinced that Tam was in labour. Tam was convinced she was in labour, until eventually she was very, very much in labour. And back we went, only to be told, your wife's clearly in labour. Why didn't you come in sooner? That frustration aside, we were ushered in to our birthing suite. CD in place, music started playing. Please excuse the little glitchy pause then. I have, as if by magic, just been interrupted by the very subject I was waxing lyrical about. Caitlin arrived as she's just arrived in the henge. Hungry, shouty, demanding food. She hasn't changed very much, bless her. Delivered to the world, as I mentioned, screaming the place down, with the comment of, well, there's nothing wrong with her lungs. She was handed to the nurse to be taken away for weighing and tagging and all of the things that happens in maternity. Now, by some kind of cosmic coincidence, or the fact that she'd worked there for years, the nurse whose hands she was delivered into happened to be my Auntie Anne. Bless her, she'd been a maternity nurse for as long as I can remember, all my life. So what a wonderful pair of hands to be delivered into. Born into the tribe and into the hands of her great aunt. Well, she was duly handed back, and being keen to be a modern and responsible father, while she was still a little bit icky and wet, we tried the skin contact. It didn't quieten her down very much until I stuck a finger near her mouth. It was clear she wanted to feed, so Tan fed her. Well, she didn't sleep very much then. She's not great at sleeping now. Unless she's a teenager and she's sleeping all day. A bit like a baby. But anyway, I'm getting caught in cross times because I've been interrupted. That night, bless her, thankfully Auntie Anne was on duty and able to walk the very awake and shouty Caitlin round and round the maternity seat, so Tan at least got some sleep. I arrived dutifully first thing in the morning, bacon sandwich in hand, ready to take charge of the little one. I picked her up, took her off. It was clear that whatever she'd been feasting on all night had come through, and she needed to be changed. Now, I have nephews and nieces. I've changed a few nappies in my time. I certainly know which way they went up. So, baby with a change bag in hand, I arrived in the changing room, laying her down and starting the start of many struggling nappy changes. Hands everywhere. The young lad came in, sort of on the change mat next to us, and turned round and looked at me in the eye and said, "Oh, is your little one all right now?" "What do you mean all right?" "Well, you must have been in for quite some time because she's like fully grown now." So I said, "No, she came out this size. She's a long baby." But yeah, and then I had the joys of, obviously the very experienced father pointing out that he definitely did have the nappy upside down, or actually back to front. No wonder there were so many struggles. Well, a few days later, our little bundle of joy was back at home with us. And life changed, as it does for all parents. Did being a dad or being a parent change me? Of course. Of course it has. A truly joyous day of my life. One of my highest moments. But anyway, I will continue my tales, having a young and up-and-coming little one in the forest. And for those of you who watched the videos back to front, they're out of order slightly because I posted them in the wrong order because I paused and had to edit a little conversation regarding dinner. Anyway, as always, thank you for listening in to the ways of a wandering wizard. As always, an absolute joy to be sharing the more joyous parts of my life along with the more trying parts, because at the end of the day my life has been like everyone else's. It's a bit of a roller coaster. It has its peaks and its troughs, but on average it's probably been quite peaky. Take care, go well, and blessed be, and the episodes will catch up momentarily.